Welcome back. So what we're going to do now is we're going to add, using Bolt, we're going to add the rules for our Firebase database. And there's a lot of code here, so I'll just try and run over it. Now the first part of my Firebase, notice that all of the code, by the way, it's pure JavaScript code, right? But there are some different rules here set up, like we can still get to the auth, meaning the authentication variable inside a Firebase that we also use in the Firebase rules. We can also get to UID. What this guy is going to do is it's going to take all of this JavaScript, the Bolt setup, it's going to take all the JavaScript and convert it into a set of rules inside Firebase. So that's pretty awesome. That's what it's going to do for us. And what I've done is I've pretty much just said, pull out the role of the user by going into the prior root. Now, this is the root of our application. You can go and read about prior if you want to, but it's pretty much just making sure that instead of looking at new data coming in from the outside, it's actually going to the actual root of the application. The child of users means that we're going down to the users node, and inside the users node we're going to find the actual user that we're looking for right now, and there we're going to grab his role and the name of the role and grab the value and return that in the function. That's all we're doing here. IsOwner is pretty much just saying if the auth ID is the same ID, the guy who's logged in right now is the same ID that the one we're sending from the outside, and we're going to use that down here where we actually pass in the UID with the /UID. If that's the same guy that's logged in right now, he can actually read some data here. We'll get back to that in a second. IsAdmin is grabbing the role and saying if the role that we just created up here, pulled out up here, is actually admin, then you're an admin, or else you're an educator, or else you're a student. So that's all this code right here. Let's try and just figure out how we find the user role inside Firebase. So if I go to my Firebase console, you'll notice here that under users, right? If I go back here under users, the root here, and then under users, so the root under users, right? And here I'm looking for the child of auth ID and the child of role, the auth ID, that's the ID here of the authenticated user, and the role that's right here, and then the name is the student in this case. We grab the name and we pull out the value. That's how you navigate through this JSON structure. So that's kind of the first functions here that we're going to use to actually have some specific functions we can call to figure out if you're an owner, a student, an admin, whatever you actually are, what kind of role you have for your system. The next thing we're doing is we're setting up some path. So we're saying if you hit the /roles, now that path is right here, roles, right? If you hit that one, you need to do any changes in here, read or write, you actually need to be an administrator. So you're not allowed to read from this place or write to this place unless you're an administrator, right? So you need to have the role of admin. Now right now the only user with the role of admin is actually my user right here, the one Builder, okay? That's how that works. The other one, /users. Notice I just go to each path. Now you can read and write if you're not admin, both places, that's simple. So if you have users and you have a specific UID, so now we're talking about not all users, but a specific user, like this guy or this guy. Now you can read if you're actually the owner, then you can read it. But you're still only allowed to write to this area if you're actually an admin. So to all of the specific user, you can still only write if you're an admin. But if you're under profile, then you can write if you're an owner. So I know this might not make sense the first time you see it, but I'm kind of just trying to figure out the structure here. So that means that for this one, you're actually allowed as a user, even though you're only a student, you can read and write to the profile, but you cannot read and write to the role, of course, because a student should not be able to change his role into an admin, for instance. Here you can read and write if you're an admin to all of it, and of course you can also read and create new users if you're an admin out here. Try and understand these rules, try and read them. Now, in Git Checkout 40, you'll have all the rules available. You can go and read them there if you want to. And what I need to do now is actually pull these rules over to Firebase. And I do that by calling the Firebase roles, by calling Firebase Bolt, and then pointing the lower than, and then adding the name of the file. Now I have to be in the Firebase folder, this folder right here, to actually call this method. So I'm just inside the Firebase folder in my command prompt. I call users bolt, and then I actually get this JSON. Let me show you. I'll press enter. I get this JSON set here. Let me just grab everything here. I'll just copy that. Let me just do that again just to be sure I had it all. I'll just copy that, and then I'll go into my Firebase and open rules. and I'll just remove the old rules, paste in the new ones, and save this. And now I have rules available. Now it's actually set up with the rules. Now I'm also going to just export this file I have right here, so you guys can actually see that. Now the problem is, if you don't have the right authenticated user, this won't work. So create your own user, set up the rules like I did here, and try and see if it works. See you in the next lesson.